Hi there. Thanks for watching the other videos. I've got the setup here. This is the electronic setup that allows me to have very useful power from a solar panel. uh, now that I've got this running for a couple of days, I'm going to revive my projects because it's much easier to set them up now than if you have a power supply and you have to need 220. This stuff simply starts up when the sun starts shining. It's burning. It's on before I wake up basically, and it doesn't even need much sun because it's very low power. Microcontrollers also need very low power. You actually have nanowatt microcontrollers. So I'll link this up to this power supply, and then I can have stuff running all day and not all night. Maybe with an supercapacitor or something like that, I can make them run all night as well. So that's just for fun, and I guess a little bit because people have been supporting me for doing these rotary encoder stuff with the magnifiers, the Fresnel lenses. Um, I, Yesterday I had a busy day. I only wrote one post. I had to do some software work on my websites because Twitter keeps changing their API. But I wrote a post claiming, or just about the analogies between Snowden and the Messiah or Jesus, the second coming of Christ. I think it's comical. I don't think that religion is necessary to understand the morality of forgiveness. But I do see there's very strong parallels to what Jesus did for the poor in his time and what we should do for the poor in this time. Because of course Jesus told people not to feel guilty about their poverty, just to fetch some food every day and make sure that they didn't put guilt on other people, and that's basically a very good economic principle, forgiveness, because you don't like depressed people. Ultimately they might commit suicide, and you don't have any economical use for them. They are not supporting each other or other people just because they're guilty, or because they feel guilty, because they feel poor. So Jesus' message was, don't feel guilty. And I think that's a message we need today. And first of all, people that are in debt should disregard it and not feel any guilt about being in debt, because the system forces them in debt. The system is based on the creation of debt, and of course the maintaining scarcity of the money supply. So if banks would not ask for the money back, you would have constant inflation, and you would have a lot of money out there circulating in local economies if they had the idea to pop up. What banks need is continuous scarcity, and there's two ways to do it. One is to make sure that everybody needs fossil fuels because they burn them and then they're gone, and the other one is that you basically have interest rates which ask means that you ask for the money back, but the money was only a means of exchange, so it really has no value, and it only has value if there's a live economy. So it's the biggest trick. It's intermediation in a system that really doesn't require it. That really should have some means of exchange or some means of trade that has intrinsic value, like gold and silver. That would be the best thing. But of course, I've talked about this many times before. Because the oil supply is ever expanding, or was ever expanding, you needed to have a money supply that could kind of be variable, and you need a fiat system. So that's why it was introduced. And it was introduced by bankers that saw the opportunity of enormous growth, both in their revenues and in the economy and in the population. So they pushed for it. That's my very strong conviction. Also because I know about the deal on the oil prices that was made earlier, before we left the gold standard, uh, headed by a Dutch guy, I believe, somewhere in Scotland. But so Snowden, well, basically, uh, you could call him the Son of God if you say, well, God is all-knowing, he knows everything and is almighty. Well, of course, the US Secret Service was more or less, or is more or less all-knowing, can snoop into anything. That's what we have established. And of course, it's almighty because it's linked to Department of Defense, has assassination, etc., MI5, whatever. This is very broad strokes similarity between being the son of a god, which was for Jesus only a claim, only a threat, in an environment where people were used to very little excitement. If you transport it to this time, there really are drones that see everything. There really are microphones that pick up everything, and let's say eavesdropping software that pick up internet traffic, etc. Satellites. So you do have a godlike power, and Snowden is then an exponent of that, or a son, you might say. He's also about the right age to be the Messiah, but anyway. Uh, so then what he is catalyzing is an awareness of this recording of your life. I have to stop this video, by the way, or start a new one, or it will break off. But the recording of your life, which means that in the future some legal case can be concocted against you, and you will have, let's say, you will be persecuted for your sins. If he establishes an atmosphere in which we have to destroy all these records, all these hard drives with the data, then you will not be able to be prosecuted for your sins, and so you're forgiven. Same idea. And of course, the biggest power that is now using this security service is the fossil fuel industry, which means that it will be a hit to the fossil fuel industry. And it's mentioned in this report that I was mentioning earlier that Shell uses spying on activists. If we are going to establish some kind of hyper transparent environment where we don't allow anybody, any corporation, to hold personal private data on the whereabouts and movements of people, then we will be freed then of the fossil fuel dominance, because it won't be able to to specifically attack people before they even become active in this, or hit them through economical means, through the banks, because that's of course the easiest. You just withdraw funding, you make an excuse, and you make sure that people that have, let's say, a certain mindset, a certain intention, don't have any money to express it. Like, look at me, basically, almost have no money. But I'll leave it at this, because this thing will break off any second now. But I'll put a link to the post below this video, and if you have any suggestions on how to elaborate on that idea, it's a metaphor. I think that today everybody can be the Messiah, because we basically all have the information necessary to understand that his perspective of forgiveness is a good idea. It's a better idea than what we have is an individualistic society where we try to kill each other all the time, or even, let's say, take all the resources from each other. That's only because they are scarce resources, because we use fossil fuel. If we use renewables, the resources will not be scarce. So we will have peace if we are able to allow renewables to break through. We will have world peace, we will have wealth and prosperity for everybody, and we will be able to deal with the climate problem sufficiently to survive as humanity. I firmly believe that. Basically, I can build up an image of that, but I'll try that in the next video. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.